proud of you for being strategic enough to take a step backwards for 3 steps forward. It is the cliche mistake of almost everybody in the kind of businesses that you have and other doctors and haircut, many around that business model. Kudos to you. It's really cool. It's very hard to do for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason for that is we lost one of our biggest sources of new patients with it, which is doctor referrals. They're all in the corporate healthcare. So we're going up against big Goliaths, and we're just trying to figure out how to add that third best referral source into the business. So number 1 is patient referrals. Number 2 would be Google AdWords and SEO. And then number 3 used to be doctors. So I'm just looking for that third strategy. And I know digital has to be it. That's where people are. That's where, the attention is. But I don't really have a good strategy. I've done some, content. I've done a lot of written content, just in our field. I've done some video content, but I just feel like we're not doing enough. And I want to reach.
Chris, it's funny to jump in here. I'm sorry, you want to reach?
One last thing is the 40 to 70-year-old female is our demo. That's really who we're looking for.
Brother, what's really cool about this is, and I'm actually using Lauren as a comp. People are like, I have this problem. Like, no, your problem is you haven't dealt with your childhood, right? Or like, Gary, I have a major problem with my sink. No, you don't. Your well outside, your water source is your problem. The reason I use those 2 things, and I want everybody to hear this, Chris, if you knew that 90% of your business was how to do pictures and videos on Facebook, you would act differently every day. What I need you to do in these 5 minutes, and I appreciate the way you just responded, I'm not kidding. You, and then whether you hire people, whether you freelance it, whether you work with an agency, you have to realize that that's exactly why you had to do it. To your point, and I appreciate your humility, you didn't have the strategic rationale or the burnout or some other different point of stepping back. You were forced to because you relied on something else driving your business. I am never scared because I never let anyone have leverage. James will tell you that. He knows the inside of literally everybody can leave the company and it'll be fucking disastrous for an hour or a month or a year. But I have so much leverage and understanding that I'm actually not vulnerable. You were vulnerable. Some of you else here are vulnerable. You can't rely on somebody driving your relationship with your customer. So this will now make sense, which is why I'm using this. It's not to razz, it's to get you fired up to the next chapter. You have to win Instagram and Facebook. You. It's more important than your practice, your ability now. It's more important than balancing your checkbook. It's more important than breathing fucking oxygen. You have to know what it is. And it's Jason's answer too. Jason will get destroyed in new markets if he doesn't understand it. He will. It's just too much capital up front to wait for it to happen. Unless he raises an ungodly amount of money or he bleeds all his base business dollars, if he doesn't get good at it, at least adequate, it's not going to work. If you can't create growth, one of the things I've really enjoyed in working with James Orsini is he comes from big holding company agency land where they are at such scale, they are about efficiencies. And it's been great for me to learn because I've always created such growth. But that's why I'm never, when you're growing, when you know how to get more business, ironically, all the other shit works itself out. It's when you stop knowing how to get business that you have to become a monster at efficiencies, but that's not a fun game. It's depressing. Firing people, renegotiating, it's all defense. Fuck defense. So, brother, you have to learn offense. And the offense in your business is how to acquire customers. And the only way to acquire customers for all of us, including me in small business land, is social media. Nobody here is buying a Super Bowl commercial.
That's great. I was putting a little bit of attention into taking your advice, hosting the party, doing a podcast called Inspiring Small Business Stories.
I love that. The problem is you need people to listen.
Right.
And if you don't know how to market the podcast, you're going to be looking at yourself and saying, this is cool for my grandchildren to listen to one day because it's funny, but it's not driving your business. By the way, think about how this works. I love that. And I'm glad you picked up on that. And by the way, you should do that. It's going to work. The problem is if you don't know how to get people to fucking listen to it, it's all dead. Knowing how to do pictures, videos, cartoons, written words, and how to spend $100 in media on LinkedIn, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok is everyone's business here. Everything's secondary. I don't give a fuck how good the stereo equipment Esther's family has been making for 50 fucking years. If she doesn't know how to get people to come to the fucking store, it's game over. Or buy it on .com. All of it. Delicious ice cream is subjective. What's not subjective is that people saw Zach and Courtney's shit in their feed and it's like, fuck it, I'll try it. It's the only thing that matters. It's why I'm completely been obsessed about it for a decade, not honing any other skill than trying to become the single best practitioner at the day trading of media and creative on an every second basis. And I would argue that's why I have just started my career, because I'm now in the place where I'm recognized as if, and it will only compound from here. Because everyone's about to get educated in the next 10 years that it's the only thing that matters. Comma, of course your product matters. If the tires suck, of course, but everyone here's thing is good enough to build a big enough business to make everybody here happy for the rest of their life. They got to get this fucking part right.